Yastyaktvā rūpamadhyam prabhavate jagataha anekadha anugrahaya prakshena klesharashihi vishama vishadharaha anekavaktra subhogi sarvajnana prasutihi bhojaga parikaraha pritaye yasya nityam devo hishaha savo vyat sita vimalatanuhu yogado yogayuktaha yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam Patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi Abahu purushakaram Shankhachakrasidharinam Sahasrashirasam shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Shrimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha Patanjala Mahabhashya Charaka Pratisamskritaihi Manovakaya doshanam Hartreya he pataye namaha Bhashyakrit sutrakrit chapi Nirmalantam surupinam Dhyataram Shripatir Nityam Patanjalim Namamyaham So my friends, last time we did the sutra Te prati prasavaheyaha Te hlada paritapa phalaha punya apunya hetutvat. What Patanjali is presenting in the 14th sutra of the second chapter, that our intentions are very, very important to decide whether an action is going to lead us to a consequence that is hlada, that is joyful, or paritapa, that is suffering. And we saw many examples of the same, because it is realistic that we cannot actually function from the place of clarity all the time. Even though we want to be clear, sometimes we are not very clear. And the kleshas take over. The kleshas and the klesha vrittis, they take over. When you look at some of the political situations now in so many fronts, some of the social situations now in so many fronts, people are very angry. They are very angry. For example, they are angry against men who have supposedly abuse some people, or they're angry against politicians who are not taking good care of people, or there is racism, or there is this. Now the response to that is coming from often a place of anger or hurt, which is also a klesha. So even responding to that is not necessarily always that is right, because the response is coming from a place of anger, from a place of hurt, from a place of suffering. So it doesn't mean that the response is right. My father always used to say that when a dog is frustrated, it will bark at you. You cannot respond to that frustrating dog, a dog that is frustrated, by becoming angry with the dog. That is not a good response. If the dog is angry with you, let's say it bites you. So the dog is the abuser. It bites you. You cannot respond to it by beating it, because that is not going to solve the problem. Neither for you nor for the dog. The dog, if you beat the dog, that dog may become even more angry and frustrated, and may not only bite you, but maybe go and bite somebody else who is in the street, who is available. So reaction to certain situations, action towards certain situation, cannot always come from a place of clarity. That's why kleshas are inherent, they take over. But what is the intention behind is very, very important. What is the intention behind is very, very important. It's a very important reflection we all have to make. If the intention is to heal the people who are hurt, then the focus must be on the people who are hurt, not only the people who are hurting. If I have to heal myself from the wound of the dog bite, I have to take care of my wound, not beat the dog. If I'm beating the dog, my healing will not happen. My healing will not happen if I just beat the dog. The focus should be somewhere different. That's where intention comes. What is your intention? Your intention is revenge on the dog, or is your intention to heal you? That will determine how you respond. That is the previous sutra, te hlada paritapapalaha punya apunya hetutvat. Because not always we are functioning from a place of clarity. So when there is the talk about paritapa, dukkam, suffering, and earlier also Patanjali has talked about suffering, Patanjali leads us to the next sutra. What is dukkam, or what causes dukkam? What is the cause of suffering? Because the entire sutra, Yogasutra of Patanjali, is presented to remove our suffering, to reduce our suffering. All the Vedic darshanas, all the Shat darshanas, their primary focus is reduction of the suffering. That is why we have the darshana. That is the intention of the darshana. That intention is we have to reduce suffering. So what is causing suffering? Because if you look at it, what causes suffering to some is not necessarily suffering to somebody else. For example, you go to have a breakfast in our very famous restaurant in our neighborhood called Sangeeta. Now, for some people who are not used to spicy food, their chutney, which is so full of chilies, is so much suffering. But the same chutney is not suffering to another person who is used to the spiciness. And in fact, if the Sangeeta is making it sweet, they are complaining that it is not spicy enough. So what causes suffering is not the object itself. This is where Patanjali is so smart and is asking us to become smart. Because we have the tendency to blame objects. We have the tendency to blame objects, saying, you are responsible for my suffering. She is responsible for my suffering. That dog is responsible for my suffering because it bit me. We have the tendency to easily give away the responsibility. So Patanjali is asking us to reflect about what is our role in our suffering. Because the same object can be pleasurable to somebody, can be hurting to somebody. And it can be pleasurable at one moment, hurting at another moment. Today you like somebody, it is a pleasurable object, so you are happy in their company. Tomorrow you fight with them, you don't want to deal with them. The same person becomes an object of suffering for you. So things change. So that's why Patanjali is saying, what is the source of Duhkham in the sutra? Parinama Tapa Samskara dukkha Guna vritti virodhacha dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. There are different origins or sources of suffering. That is what our great Patanjali is saying. First one, very simple, what is called Parinama, change. The change can happen either from inside us or the change can happen outside us. Weather changes. You want to organize a picnic with your friends and you are preparing everything. You have beautiful food that you have prepared. You have packed your bag with your towel, with your umbrella and your sunglasses and everything. Nice music you want to play when you are with your friends. And then the rain happens, it changes, the weather changes. You are very agitated because you have to stay in the house. All that preparation you did for outside is not working out. So there is a change outside, weather changes. Sometimes the change is inside us. Sometimes the change is inside us. We are getting older each day. Nobody can avoid this. We are not young as we used to be. So there is some changes going on. Body's digestion changes. What you could digest before, you are not able to digest now because metabolism changes over time. Your body's capacity changes. What you could do before, you are not able to do now. For example, memory changes quite a bit. When we get older, we lose memory. Easily we forget things, we don't remember many things, whereas when we are young, we remember much more. So, body also changes inside, but we are not consistently accepting the change or honoring the changes. If we don't honor the changes, we suffer. For example, seasons are different. And our metabolism, if you look at it, is normally tuned with the seasons. That's why the ancient yogis and the ancient teachers in Ayurveda, they are always saying to us, eat what grows in your season, what grows in your locality, because that is consistent to your season. So there is a synergy between what you eat and your body's metabolism. But today we don't care. The seasons are changing, but we don't honor the seasons. We like something, therefore we eat. It doesn't matter which part of the year we are living, which season we are living, we want the same. We have air conditioners. Summer we want to make it cooler, winter we want to make it warmer. But nature has no AC. Nature is naturally changing its weather, its humidity, its dryness, its moisture. Everything changes, and our ancestors adapted to that. So if we are not honoring the changes, that will cause suffering, that will cause dukkham. You have some plans in life, but the plans will not work because life always changes. You may have planned something with your family, but then something else comes up. We have to accept it. No? You have to accept that something else is coming, you have to accept it, and we have to honor that change. Maybe something more important has come up. Sometimes the opposite. You may have planned something at work, but something more important in the house happens. Somebody dies. You'll have to go and attend to that. You can't say, I want to work. Life also goes through many transitions. We are teenagers, then we become adults, then we become older people. We have to respect these changes. Honor the changes. We don't do that. No? We want to try and remain how we would like to see ourselves. We resist that change. My body is changing. I'm getting gray hair. Now, some of my friends I meet, they're saying, hey, color your hair, you look younger. But I don't understand why I should look younger. If it's aging is natural, we have to accept it. So if you try to look something that you are not, this creates problem because we don't know now what happens. All the chemicals we put for our hair dye can cause other problems like cancer, skin problems, this problem, that problem, everything can happen. But we don't honor the body's natural change. Somehow we disrespect aging process. We think old is not beautiful, old is bad. So we don't accept that. So we want to try and stay young. It's not possible. So honoring the changes will lead us to less suffering, but resisting the changes will lead us to more suffering. And one of the things that prevents us from accepting the change is attachment. Patanjali already talks about this as raga. We are getting so attached to an experience, we don't want to change that experience. People say, oh, I love summer so much, I don't want winter to come. How can you not want winter to come? Winter will arrive. You cannot help it. No, even in Game of Thrones they are saying winter is arriving. But you cannot help it. Same way you cannot attach yourself to somebody. Many people, when I talk to people one-to-one in a therapy classes, people have problems in relationships and I ask them, why are you having problems? Oh sir, when I married my husband, he was one way. Now he is different. I don't like that he has changed. Okay, but have you not changed? You also changed, but you don't want to see that you have changed. You don't want to accept the change in the other person. In this man or woman is the same story. You don't want to accept the change. So all this is what is called Parinama dukkha. Parinama dukkha is a very high level philosophical topic also of Parinama dukkha, because to some degree our consciousness, our jivatma also goes through what is called Parinama dukkha. Because we can always say, oh, jivatma does not have change. Because Patanjali talks about it, Purushasya aparinamitvad. The jivatma does not necessarily change. Yes, it does not change in form. What is called Rupa Parinama does not exist for the consciousness. It exists only for matter. It exists only for matter. But what exists for consciousness, what Parinama exists for consciousness is what is called Bhava Parinama. Its state of existence. Consciousness can be in two states, bound or liberated. It's either free or it's trapped. Normally it's free, but somehow because of our kleshas and ego and other things, we make it trapped. That's a change that has led to suffering. We are all trapping it with our ego. And that is the cause of suffering. Yoga is the process of liberating that from the ego. That is from a baddha state to a mukta state. Baddha atma becoming mukta atma. That is liberation, reduction of suffering. But as long as we have trapped it, we have trapped it and it has changed its experience. It has changed its feeling from feeling free to feeling trapped. It's very simple to understand this. Make a small experiment. You put yourself in the middle of the room, surround yourself with nobody, just empty. You are in the same space. You are inside. You are not changing. You are there. You feel free. Now, ask 100 people to come into the room and very, very close to you. How will you feel? You will feel your space is being invaded. You feel like you are not free because there are so many people. If you want to experience it, just go to the trains in Japan in rush hour. Now, the same space, you are the same, but the feeling is that you feel suffocated, you feel trapped. Slowly everybody leaves, you feel liberated. The same space, you are the same, but you feel liberated. This is what is called Bhava Parinama. Your feeling changes. The same happens to the consciousness. It goes through what is called Bhava Parinama. So Parinama is a source of Duhkham. That's the first Dukkham we experience. That is why it's called Parinama Dukkham. The second Dukkham is what is called Samskara Dukkham. Samskara Dukkham means Dukkham because of habits. You get used to something. You get used to something, and that can create problems. Because what you are used to need not work in another context, place or time. For example, I'm used to driving in India, and I'm driving in India in one side of the road, which is different from maybe in Europe. And also Indian driving is very special. It's not really like a very straight line, it's not linear. You have to follow the traffic, cows, people, politicians, everybody are on the streets. Mad dogs, good dogs, everything is in the street. So you have to navigate in a certain way. This creates a samskara. Now the same samskara, you cannot use it in another country. Go to Europe, the side of driving is very different. It's the opposite side. And everybody drives following certain rules. It's very linear. Nobody is navigating, nobody has to. So if you feel a little gap, my tendency is to try and overtake the person. The Europeans get very angry. And probably the police stops me and gives me a big fine. Because my samskara, my pattern, dominates. Samskara Dukkham. We all have this. We all grow up. We all grow up in our, let's say, family. And how the family behaves, how mother, father behaves, normally, is getting established in us as a pattern. And that's what we expect from our partners when we find somebody. Oh, my mother accepted this, why can't you accept it? My father accepted this, why can't you accept this? Our partners have a different pattern. They come with their patterns, we come with our patterns. Clash of the patterns. Dukkham. Dukkham. Maybe your parents, my parents for example, they're not used to saying please, thank you, because we are brought up in one way in India. Now suppose I'm meeting somebody else who is not from India, who is very polite family, and they are always, oh please, please, thank you, thank you. It's very different. Some families, they talk very straight. Some families talk round and round, but they still don't say anything to each other. So when these two kind of people meet as a couple, one talks very straight. Oh, you are horrible. You look horrible in this dress. The other person is so shocked. Because even the other person feels the husband or wife looks horrible. They don't want to say, oh, you look wonderful. Because they want to be polite, even if they feel different. So what is our pattern can create a problem. This can be familial as well as country-wise, cultural. As well as cultural. In India, we think we are responsible for our family all our life. But in the West, they don't think like that. So there is different ways of perception. So you can't match the two. Each one is a pattern that has its own problems. This is what is called Samskara Dukkham. We get used to some things, and that creates a problem. That creates a problem. You get used to some kind of food, some flavor of food. If you get something different, that creates agitation in us because it is not what we are used to. That is what is called Samskara Dukkham. This also transcends time. When I grew up, I went by walking to school or by bicycle to school. But today's young people, they want to go by car. So they cannot imagine that somebody could walk to their school. And I think about my own situation. My daughter's school is the same distance as me and my school. She's going to the same school that I did, but she's thinking it's too far to walk. Whereas when we were young, we had to walk to the school, same school, we just walked. So time, what you get used to in your time is very different from what you get used to in another time. When my grandmother and grandfather were alive, there was no bottled water in India. They would be so shocked to see that water is being bottled and sold for a price, because in India, water is considered something that is supposed to be for everybody. It's a gift of God that everybody should have access to. So if you are selling water, it's a shock for many. My grandmother and grandfather would not understand it, that this is even possible. So what this transcends, this also concept of samskara is about time and space. What you get used to is very different from what your parents are used to and what your children are used to. When we were growing up, we had this very old phone that will go trrr, trrr, trrr. And sometimes you had to call somebody just in Bangalore. My aunties used to live in Bangalore. You had to call operator and you had to wait because the operator would manually connect. And sometimes if the lines were busy, you had to wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes for the operator to connect. So you learn patience, you are used to it. Today, you send one SMS, or daughter sends an SMS, and if you don't respond within 30 seconds, she calls and says, why you don't reply? Because what is time, what is quick response is very different now from what is quick response before. I remember the time where my father was so happy when the concept of aerogram arrived in India. Because my uncle lived in France, and sometimes when you would write a letter, it would take like 2 months to go and 2 months to come back. So then aerogram came. It would go in 20 days and come back in 20 days. How fast that is. 20 days was considered quick. So what we are used to can create problems because we get stuck. So samskara and parinama go hand in hand. Then there is what is called Tapa dukkha, samskara, parinama, Tapa. Sorry, I forgot Tapa. Tapa dukkha. Tapa is expectations. We are all not free from expectations. We all have expectations. Classic case, when child is born in India, parents already decide what the child has to become, doctor, engineer, or whatever, chartered accountant, depending on whatever they want. They put their expectations on the child. Poor child cannot even open its eyes, but the mother or father has made one bank deposit for buying a seat in the college here or college there. And that poor child has to meet that high expectations, and it suffers. It suffers. We live in a very entitled society now. Everybody is expecting to be treated well. Everybody is expecting that they deserve this, they deserve that, they deserve only good. And that's a very big problem, because life is not always going to be good. Expectation is the source of the problem. Oh, I went to this restaurant, they didn't treat me well. Oh, the food was not good, I'm not happy. Okay, maybe in one point of view it's okay, but in another point of view it's not always going to be like that. You cannot have a bad year nowadays. Stock markets, stockholders don't allow you to have a bad year because they expect the returns. Expectation creates so many problems. We expect from partners some things. Maybe the partners cannot fulfill it. We get agitated, we get disappointed. And part of the problem is, in modern society, in relationships especially, I've seen, many people do not communicate their expectations. They expect from their partner something, but they don't necessarily tell the partner what they're expecting. They don't tell the partner what is it that they want, what is it that they don't want. That is not communicated. And so there is a lot of conflict. But we are not mind readers. We cannot know what the other person is having in the mind. So expectations have to be communicated. Secondly, just because it's an expectation, it doesn't mean that it will happen. Just because it's an expectation, it doesn't mean it will happen. I cannot expect my dog to fly just because it's my expectation. My mother has a papaya plant in my house, I cannot expect, okay, it will give 20 papayas. It will give what it can give. Maybe 1 year it gives me 1 or 2. Another year it will give me maybe 10. Another year it will give me nothing. But I have to be realistic about my expectations. And I cannot expect it to give mangoes. I don't like papaya. My father liked it. That's why she planted it. But now my father is not there. I don't like papayas. My mother doesn't like papayas so much. So I cannot expect that papaya tree to say, okay, stop giving papayas, give us mangoes. And this is what we do with human beings. We expect from people what we want them to be. Whether it's a friend, whether it's a child, whether it's a relationship, a husband or a wife or a partner, or a teacher or a student. We have expectations. I want my students to be a certain way. It's not possible. I want my students to be like me, how I was with my teachers. It's not possible. Students expect me to be like my father. It's not possible. My father and I are different. Just like my father could not be like his teacher. Nobody will be like another just because you have an expectation. That's the biggest source of problem today is expectation. Everybody expects good things only. We have lost contact with reality that sometimes, not always, good things will happen, sometimes bad things will also happen. Bad news is normal, what is called duality of life. Duality of life. You can't expect one team to always win the game, then it's boring. You can't expect one direction that life will take. It's not possible. It will change. You can't expect. And that expectation creates a deep source of conflict and suffering. People today are expecting more and more money, but its reality is that money is very tight nowadays. Especially in India, we have new taxes and very little cash. So whatever we are earning, government is taking, we get nothing in return. We get bad roads, bad water, bad electricity, no free education, no free health care. So, but to people, expectation is so high. So this is what is called Tapa dukkha. We are suffering because of our expectations and desires. It's a very strong word. Tapa means like thirst. Thirst for material things. We are so much a consumption-based society. We always want to consume. And the problem is we become such consumers that we no longer want to repair. We are a disposable consumer society. Disposable consumer society. Your pant has a little tear. I take it to my tailor. You saw a few days ago, my pant had a tear because of the auto rickshaw. I take it to the tailor. Tailor looks at me and says, "Sir, throw it, sir, buy a new pant. I'll stitch for you new pant, sir." I say, no, I wanted to repair. Sir, repair cost will be same as new pant, sir. I'll do it for you, new pant. And that's what is happening. Whether you take a phone to repair, the guy will suggest you buy a new phone. Computer repair, no, buy new things. In the old days, people used to repair and reuse. Now we have become disposable. Something goes wrong, we dispose. And that becomes the samskara. That becomes samskara. Okay, the shirt is not working, I throw, buy a new one. Shoes not working, I throw, buy a new one. Car not working, I throw, buy a new one. And we extend that samskara to relationship. Not working, throw, get new one. Nobody wants to repair. Nobody wants to endure. And this is what is called samskara dukkha, tapa dukkha, parinama dukkha, all in one. So this is 3 types of dukkha that are very common. And then Patanjali adds one more. Guna vritti virodha. Ultimately, the gunas are everything. There is an sattva, rajas and tamas in the language of yoga. Pitta, vata and kapha in the language of Ayurveda. They are always playing in this universe. Sometimes vata is dominant, sometimes pitta is dominant, sometimes kapha is dominant. I see patients who have insomnia, they want to go to sleep, kapha must be dominant. At that time, kapha is not dominant, vata or pitta is dominant, they cannot sleep. That is what is called guna vritti virodha. The activities of the gunas are disturbed. So they get insomnia, that is a dukkham. If you sleep at night time, it is not dukkham. If you sleep when you are meant to sleep, it is not dukkham. But if you sleep when you are driving a car, that is dukkham. Because you will get an accident. Even 1 second of sleeping is enough for you to make a mistake and die. So, sleep at the right time is okay. Sleep that is not happening at the right time is not okay. Either lack of sleep at the time of sleep or sleep at the time of non-sleeping is a dukkham. That is what is guna vritti virodha. And nowadays we have made it more disturbing because of electricity. Before electricity, people were waking up when the sun would rise, sleep when the sun would set. They were more closer to the gunas. Now we have electricity, we want to wake up till very late. We want to wake up very late. We keep with Facebook, Twitter, even in the bed we can be on the internet awake. So we don't sleep at the right time, disturbing of the gunas. So guna vritti virodha, same can happen with other. When we have to act, the rajas has to be dominant. At that time, if tamas is dominant and you are sleepy, that action will not happen. It will lead to dukkham. Like I said, when you drive a car, it's an action. You have to be alert and active. Tamas cannot be dominant. But if tamas is dominant, you get into dukkham. So guna vritti virodha is very, very important. And that is connected to seasons as well, and age as well, and many other factors like that. Because seasons are also dominated by the gunas. Our age is also dominated by the gunas. Our job is dominated by the gunas. But our society has become a very disturbing cycle of the gunas. We have become very disturbed. We have disturbed the gunas completely. Normally if you see, in Ayurveda, travel is considered vata activity. Okay? Now, most people today, many people in the room, you will understand when I say this, that most of us today, we are not activating vata when we travel. We are activating tamas because we sit in a car where there is a driver. So we just sit and maybe close our eyes and sleep. We are not doing anything active. Poor driver is driving and the wheels are moving. In Ayurveda they said, vata is making you move. Because they were talking about walking or running. They were not talking about sitting in a car and relaxing. The Ayurvedic times, cars did not exist. But today we are always seated in a car, seated in a plane, seated in a train, even when we are traveling. So it's very different. We are disturbing the gunas. We are disturbing the gunas. And that is the concept of guna vritti virodha. But even though Patanjali says this, Patanjali is also saying something slightly positive. He's saying, don't worry, dukkham eva sarvam vivekinaha. Don't think dukkham is discriminating. Dukkham does not come to some people and not to other people. Dukkham does not discriminate. Okay, poor people will have suffering, rich people will not have suffering, and middle class will be suffering midly. We all will have our own suffering. The poor man will think, I don't have any money to eat. That is his dukkham. The rich man is thinking, how much more money should I make next year to satisfy my shareholder? That will be his dukkham. Or who's going to take away my money? That will be his dukkham. The middle class will always say, okay, I'm not yet achieved, I want to be up more and more, I want more because taxes are taking away everything. He's got his own dukkham. So everybody is under Dukkham, even Vivekinaha, people of great clarity. People who are enlightened, they are also not discriminated by Dukkham. They have their own Dukkham. They have their own Dukkham. My grandfather at the last days of his life, he was having Dukkham, different kind of Dukkham. He was saying, my time is running out, I have not taught enough to my son. I have to teach to Desikachar more, I have to teach, there is so much, but my time is running out. Nathamuni, our ancestor, he became mad at the last stage of his life because he had the opportunity to meet Rama and Hanuman, but he missed it, and therefore he became depressed that he missed seeing Rama and Hanuman. It's a very beautiful story actually. Nathamuni one day had a dream that Rama and Hanuman would visit him. And in the dream, Rama and Hanuman said, I will visit you, prepare a nice meal. So immediately Nathamuni started to prepare the next day, everything nice, and he was every day preparing, waiting to see if they would come. So as he was waiting one day, some of these street performers are there where they have a little drum and they have a little monkey doing the tricks. Now they are considered to be from a very, not Brahmin caste. They were coming and they were doing some tricks and this and that. And Hanuman, they said, please give us some food. Nathamuni says, no, I cannot give you this food. This is for Rama and Hanuman. Please go. I am waiting for somebody. Please go. So they go. He is waiting and waiting and waiting. Nathamuni is waiting. And finally he is praying and saying, Rama, you said you will come. I am waiting and waiting and waiting for you. Why don't you come? So he gets the answer, I came but you sent me away. I came but you sent me away. So that was his Dukkham. For the rest of his life, he was regretting that he didn't feed Rama and Hanuman. And the story is that he became a bit insane towards the end of his life because he was walking saying, I could not feed Rama, I could not feed Rama, I could not feed Hanuman, I could not feed Hanuman. That is his Dukkham. Vivekinaha, he is a very learned person. So everyone will have Dukkham because their expectations may be different. He would have said, I want to see Rama. That would have been his expectation. We have expectation. I want new car, new iPhone, new t-shirt, whatever. Slow level expectation. But it is still an expectation. These fellows will have an expectation. I want to see the divine. I want to see the divine. I want to transmit all the teachings. That may be their expectations. But Dukkham therefore does not discriminate anybody. Dukkham eva sarvam vivekina, sarvam for everybody, including the Vivekis who are great learned people, wise people. They also are not discriminated